The Prepper Podcast, Episode 30.
You've got to know whether or not they're presidents of crime.
The American people would never vote for socialism. He said, under the name of liberalism, the American people will adopt every fragment of the socialist program.
The Prepper Podcast is an up-to-date survival podcast based on military wilderness and modern-day survival and may be found at theprepperpodcast.com. I am Ken Jensen, and this is the podcast about everything survival. My goal is to teach you strategies on self-reliance and to develop survival skills and critical thinking in everyone, resulting in a more resilient and more enjoyable life. This is episode 30, and I want you to allow me to be your travel advisor today. So, by explaining tips for road trips and how to prepare yourself for unexpected situations before venturing out. The housekeeping today, for the housekeeping, the show notes for today will be at theprepperpodcast.com/030. I also recently checked iTunes for all of the feedback and comments and stuff like that you guys gave me. And I'm happy to say that I have at least 15 people, or somewhere around, I think it's 13. I have 13 reviews, and all of them are 5 stars. So I'm really glad that you guys really enjoy the show. And I'm glad that you guys leave comments as well. I read every single one of them. It would not allow me to reply to them, but I just want you guys to know that I appreciate all the kind things that you've said about my podcast. And I'm glad to hear that you guys will be listening in the future and that you enjoy all the content that I bring you. That being said, you can get to my iTunes at theprepperpodcast.com/iTunes. You can go there and you can give me a review if you haven't. Like I said, I've had 0 reviews that are anything other than 5 stars. Every single review has been 5 stars, and I really appreciate that. So thank you guys, and let's keep that going. That is awesome. Also, I am thinking of adding my podcasts to YouTube. This is something that I haven't done. I've basically left YouTube as a additional resource type thing. If I make a video, I would post it on YouTube, that kind of thing. But I'm really thinking about adding my podcast episodes to YouTube, and I was really wondering if I should add my entire podcast episode to YouTube, or if I should just do like a 3-minute clip, the first 3 minutes of YouTube. And here's the reason why. The reason why I was thinking about doing that is because typically on YouTube, people don't want to watch a 1-hour show or anything like that. Okay, if I put like the first 3 minutes of the episode, that would be 3 minutes of them listening to me, and then at the end of it, I could say something like, to listen to more of this podcast, go to theprepperpodcast.com, /030, as in this episode. So tell me what you guys think. If you're YouTube users, if you like to see a lot of do-it-yourself and stuff like that, let me know if you would be more apt. I know that you guys already are listening to my podcast, but if you just came upon my podcast through YouTube, if you would be more likely to follow the link to my website to listen to it, or if you would be more likely to just play YouTube and just listen to the podcast on YouTube while you're driving or something like that. Because what I'll probably do is I'll just put my logo or something as the video, and then it's basically just going to be the audio, but on YouTube. So I was really just thinking more people would be willing to listen to it if I did 3 minutes and then a link. But let me know if it's otherwise, if you guys would be more willing to listen to it on YouTube itself instead of coming back to my website. So you can get there by going to theprepperpodcast.com/YouTube. I've made this stuff easy for you guys. If you go there, you'll see a lot of videos that I've done in the past for my blog and stuff like that. So even if you are listening to my podcast, go ahead and check out my YouTube channel at theprepperpodcast.com/YouTube. And also leave comments on today's show notes at theprepperpodcast.com/030. I would appreciate you guys leaving comments and letting me know if you would be more willing to listen to YouTube, or if you would be more willing to follow the YouTube link and come back to my website to listen to just audio. My biggest issue is YouTube is a bandwidth hog, and when I am listening to something on my phone, I generally don't want to use YouTube because I'm not next to a 3G and 4G signal at all times. So YouTube can get a little bit slow and can hog any data that you may have. And if you have a data plan, it takes up more data, that kind of thing. So seriously, come back to episode 30's show notes and give me some comments and let me know about that, because that will determine my decision on what to do in the future. All right, so now that the housekeeping is out of the way, I'm sorry that it was so long, but now that the housekeeping is out of the way, I'm going to pause, get a drink of water, and then we are going to start with our discussion. And I am back. With summertime approaching, everybody's going to be going on trips. They're going to be enjoying time with their families. And, you know, they're going to be doing the typical summertime thing. They're going to be in cities that they don't know. They're going to be at the beach. They're going to be, some people just I prefer to go to the mountains than the beach, but we actually are going to be having a trip this year to the beach. So I'm kind of talking to myself just as much as I'm talking to you guys. So with summertime approaching, I think that we need to discuss travel and discuss what we need to do to be prepared for travel and understand what we need to have in our vehicles at all times prepared for our trip. All right? Because you're extremely vulnerable when you travel. You know, some people are traveling by car, some people are traveling by plane. Here's the thing. If you are someone who travels by plane or you work where you essentially live out of a suitcase, I would love to bring you on my show. Go to theprepperpodcast.com/guests. I would love to bring you on my show so that we could set up some time to discuss how you implement prepping into living out of a suitcase, because we know that space is limited and things like that whenever you're flying here and there. So if you travel a lot for work or something like that, then I would really like to talk to you. So go to theprepperpodcast.com/guests and do that. But like I said, you're vulnerable when you're traveling. You either are living out of a suitcase or you have or you are one of those that will take a vehicle everywhere you go, but you still are limited in space. I mean, it's not a house. It's not even a camper. It's a car. So when you're vulnerable, you're traveling, you're far from home, you have a lot less supplies because of the space, like I was saying, and you don't know what the weather conditions are going to be. It could be rainy, it could be sunny, it could be, there could be a monsoon heading your way. You could be there for 3 weeks. Let's say that you're traveling, and it's not just a 1 week travel. You could be there for 3 weeks, and then a week later, all of a sudden, the town that you're in could be hit by a tornado. It could be hit by a monsoon or a hurricane. You could have an earthquake. You could have a winter storm. Like right now, as I'm recording this, there's supposed to be a winter storm about to hit Colorado, and it's it's the middle of May. And Colorado's about to get a little bit of a snowstorm. Now, granted, I think it's up in the mountains and stuff like that, but, I mean, where do you think people visit in Colorado? They definitely don't visit the flatland. They go there for the mountains. You know, it's a big mountain bike mecca, and it's a good place for hikers and trail runners as well. So you never know what kind of weather is going to be coming your way whenever you plan something. And typically when you plan something, you're going to be planning it well in the future. So you really don't know what's going to happen the week that you're planning on being there. So there are unknown future weather conditions. Now, the intentions of other people, that's a big one, because you don't know what people are like on the road. You don't know what they are in their private life. If you get into an accident on the road, you need to have stuff available. You need to know how to take care of yourself if you end up in an accident on the road and somebody gets angry with you, because you do have road rage out there. You don't know those people. And you also don't know the intentions of people while you're in the location that you are going to. So if you are going down to Orlando, Florida or something like that, you may be going down there because you're going to visit some Disneyland or whatever, but you end up in the wrong part of Orlando, which means we don't know what areas to stay away from in a lot of these bigger cities because we've never lived there. That's something I recommend you look into. But you don't know what the people there are like, and you end up in the wrong spot, and you end up talking to someone who has bad intentions for you or your family. Don't get yourself in those positions, but know what to do if you do. So that's just a little bit of my rant about how vulnerable people are when traveling. So let's dig into the maintenance that you want to do on your automobile before your trip so that you can have a safe trip. Because the last thing you want is a vehicle accident or a breakdown of some kind that's going to stick you in the middle of an interstate on your trip. So the first thing you're going to do is you're going to perform general preventative maintenance. And we're talking about tuning up your vehicle, a basic tune. You're going to prepare your vehicle before the trip by having your fluids changed, have a good balance, or have good balanced tires with plenty of tread left, because you don't know if you're going to run into some rain while you're on your trip. And if you have no tread left on your tires, you could end up sliding off the road. You could hydroplane straight off the road. You could be going, and this has happened to me, and I had tread, but it was very little tread, and I was actually about to get my tire changed. I was in a vehicle, and it was a front-wheel drive vehicle, and I actually had tread left, but I slowed down. It was during a really windy, rainy storm, and I slowed down to about 40 miles an hour. And this is a road that's normally 70 miles an hour. So I slowed down to like 40 miles an hour, and I still hydroplaned off the road. If I had been going faster than 40 miles an hour, it would have been disastrous. I actually came out unscathed, and my vehicle came out with very minimal damage. I didn't have to take it into a shop and get anything done to it. But the fact is I actually did hydroplane off the road, and that was not fun. It scared the daylights out of me. But that was even with tread. So if you're going 70 miles an hour on an interstate and you have no tread left, and all of a sudden it starts raining and you got hot tar coming up off the road, all the oil from the hot tar coming up, and it separates from the water that's hitting it, and it's just a disaster waiting to happen. So have plenty of tread on your tires. And while we're talking about tires, go ahead and have a spare tire. And I don't think that you should have just a donut, okay? A donut is, whenever you get your tires changed next, it would be better for you to take the old tire that you're taking off of your vehicle, as long as it still has like half tread. Take the old tire off your vehicle and use it as a spare and put a new tire in its place. Now, instead of a donut, you've got an old tire, and an old tire is going to be better than a donut by a long shot. It's at least 300% better than having a crappy donut. The donuts are only meant to get you like 30 miles or whatever. So don't rely on a donut. It'd just be better to have a spare tire itself. If you get like a leak or a small hole or something like that in your tire, and you plug it, then you probably would need to have an air compressor. That would be another good thing. And if you notice right now, I'm just on tires. So you want good balanced tires. You want plenty of tread left. You want to have a spare tire in case something happens. And you also want to have an air compressor in case of a slow leak or something like that. I would prefer to stop 4 times during a trip to air up a spare tire or air up a tire that has a small leak than I would to use one of those crappy donuts. And the air compressor I'm talking about is you could just have one of those small 12-volt air compressors in your vehicle. At home, I would prefer you have something else. Okay, just keep that in mind. I'd prefer you to have something else at home, something better. But those small air compressors, I've actually used those things, and I've used it to air up my tires before, and they do the job. They take a long time, but they get the job done, and that's all you need sometimes. So I know a lot of people crap on the small portable 12-volt air compressors, but I think that in addition to all the other things that are available, that is a good thing to have. If you have here's another cool thing that you can do, is if you have a slow leak on a tire, if you build up a cable, a hose that would connect to your tires on both ends, you could actually use your spare tire to at least halfway fill up the tire that's on your vehicle right now. So there are some cool things that you can do if you just use your brain. You are going to fill your gas tank up. You want to have your tank full before you leave your town, and that's going to give you the most advantage when anything happens and you've got to travel, and you've got to get to the next gas station, or something happens and you got to get to a hospital, but that's an hour away. You need to have your tank full before you leave, because the last thing you want to do is be 5 miles down the road and run out of gas. And the last thing you want to do is be an hour down the road and realize that there's not another gas station for 30, 40 miles, but you've got a half a tank left. Don't do that, okay? Fill your tank up. Make sure that your wipers, your windshield wipers, aren't too old. I am really bad about this, and I need to take my own advice on this. One of my vehicles right now needs the wipers replaced. They work after it's been raining pretty hard and the windshield gets cleaned. That's the thing, is before the windshield is clean, though, all they do is smear stuff. If you've got new wipers, they're really good about, getting the rain and stuff off your windshield before your windshield is perfectly clean. I do keep my windshield clean. Every time I stop for gas, I always clean my windshields with the water and stuff that they have there at the gas station, but that's not enough. When you get some dust on there, the first few wipes, my wipers are just smearing dirt and mud all over my windshield, so I can't really see much. So I have to slow down as I start to bring on my wipers until they can, and you shouldn't have to do that. You should have some new wipers and they should be able to take care of you. All right, so take care of your vehicle so it can take care of you. So you don't want your wipers to be too old. Let's go over a couple things that you should have in your vehicle. Remember that my list today is not going to be all-inclusive. I have a podcast about bug-out vehicles if you want an all-inclusive list for things to have in your vehicle. All right? And that's my list of things to have in your vehicle all the time, the bug-out vehicle podcast. I don't remember what number it is. Give me just a second and I'll tell you the number. I believe that is episode 18. So you can get there by going to theprepperpodcast.com/018. That's pretty easy to remember. So if you want to do bug out vehicles and you want to get an extensive list, you can, after you listen to this podcast in its entirety, go to theprepperpodcast.com/018 and learn all about bug out vehicles. And I try to keep everything actionable. So it's going to be a list just like this one. But this list is going to be smaller than that list. This is just some things that you need to make sure that you have in your vehicle right before your trip, before you go. You're going to want a good automobile first aid kit. There are some good ones out there. You just have to find them. I would prefer to have just a good first aid kit, not an automobile first aid kit, but you can get some decent pre-made kits. I would go with probably about a $60 first aid kit on Amazon in its own little duffel bag if I was going to go for a first aid kit. If I was going to go for a pre-made one, I've got my own that I can use, and that's what I use. I also recommend you have a blanket in there, and that is for, sleeping. And it gets cold out there. If you run out of gas or something and you're stuck in your car, it's better to be in your car than it is walking out in the middle of the night. All right, so have blankets and stuff for everybody. And most of this stuff is per person, okay? But I guess right now I am just talking about, vehicle maintenance and stuff like that. So you're going to want spare fuses for your vehicle. You're going to want, there are different types of fuses, so just pay attention to that. There are the larger fuses for some vehicles, and some of them have the real small fuses. So you're going to want spare fuses, the type that your vehicle takes. All right, so go to an auto parts store like O'Reilly's or Advanced Auto or something like that, and if you take the vehicle that you have, they can actually help you get the correct fuse kit. There are actual fuse kits with different types of fuse ratings and stuff like that for your vehicle, meant to cover most situations. Also, you're going to want to get a flashlight with extra batteries. One flashlight per person at least, and have an extra set of batteries for every single flashlight. All right, get yourself flares or reflective devices. There are some pretty cool flares on Amazon if you look. There are flares that are electronic, and they have LEDs, flashing LEDs and stuff like that. And they work really well. They're really bright. And a lot of them are just as bright as an actual flare. So you can go ahead and get some of those flares, get some reflective triangles or something like that, so that people don't smash into your car when it's on the side of the road. Get yourself a good toolkit. Okay, I don't care if you can do vehicle maintenance or not, you need to have a good toolkit. It only costs a good $50-$60 to have an awesome toolkit in your vehicle that will cover almost every scenario. And it's not going to have parts to your vehicle. I'm just talking about a nice toolkit. You can get yourself a good 120-piece toolkit for $60-$70. So get yourself a toolkit, keep it in your vehicle, and if you can't do maintenance, the reason why you have this toolkit is, what if somebody comes across that can help you, can do maintenance, but they don't happen to have a toolkit in their vehicle. So now you've got all the equipment that you need to help them help you. Kind of like on Jerry Maguire. Help them help you. So in this toolkit, you're going to have a good set of sockets. All right, that's a ratchet with a good set of sockets, and that includes the spark plug socket, okay? Because if your spark plug gets fouled up and your timing, your engine starts missing and stuff like that, and it just sounds awful. You're scared to death because you don't know anything about vehicles. Somebody pulls over, starts it up for you, and can hear it, and then you've got a spark plug, and then they say, "Oh yeah, just put a clean spark plug in there, or go ahead and clean that spark plug that's in your engine." Well, then you can go ahead and get your socket set out, or your all-in-one toolkit that has it in there, and it's going to have a spark plug socket. And what it has is got a grommet on the inside that's going to grab the spark plug. It's going to grip the spark plug so that when you're lifting the socket out of there, it's going to take the spark plug with it. It's just holding on to it. Those are really good spark plug or good sockets to have. You're going to want wrenches in your toolkit, and you're going to want screwdrivers. This is all the minimum that you're going to want in your toolkit. Luck is made. All right. Let me see. The definition that I used to always say to people is luck is when preparation meets opportunity. Okay, so luck is when preparation meets opportunity. You cannot be lucky if you don't have the opportunity appointed to you. But you also cannot be lucky if you're not prepared to take advantage of any opportunity that comes your way. This is a key that I always had in business, but doesn't it really transfer over to every other faction of life? You can't take advantage of a good opportunity if you're not prepared to take advantage of it. So luck is made. It's not something that just shows up. All right. More things to add to your vehicle. You want an extra fan belt, like a serpentine. Like a lot of vehicles only have one belt now, and it's a serpentine. And some of them have multiple. I would have an extra of every belt that you have in your vehicle. Now, if you just decide that you don't want to deal with this yet, one thing that I did, this is what I did, and I'm not recommending that you do it because then you've got a lot of time between now and whatever. Go and buy a new fan belt and have that put on your vehicle. Have a new serpentine belt put on your vehicle. Whatever belts you have all new belts put on your vehicle. This is part of a tune-up, guys. Okay? So have new belts put on. The old belts that are on your vehicle, those are your spare. So keep those in your vehicle, all right, in a container or something. Now you've got brand new belts that are probably not going to fail. Your car's in better condition. And you've got the old belts that worked perfectly fine. You've got the old belts as your spare. So now you've got spare belts. And you've got one of every single belt in your vehicle. So if one of those belts goes out, you can try to figure out how to put it on. Or like I said, you have the tools. If somebody shows up that can do it, they can help you. A lot of you guys, I don't actually think I put this on the show notes. I can't believe I didn't put this on the show notes. But AAA or any of the roadside services, a lot of people get it with their cell phones now. Some of them get it with their vehicle insurance. A lot of AAA is still a really good service. Roadside assistance. Roadside assistance is usually pretty darn good. And if you don't know how to do something and you have all the tools, some of the guys that are in roadside assistance, even if they're not mechanics, they've seen a lot of these smaller issues and they can actually help you. A lot of police that will pull over because they see a car on the side of the road, they'll help you out. And a lot of them have seen a lot of auto malfunctions and know how to fix some of the simple things. So, where was I getting at that? So I would definitely recommend having roadside assistance before you venture out on a trip, okay? I know that it wasn't part of my show notes and it kind of got me off track, but that's another way that you can make luck. So, all right, so we're done with the fan belts, and I went off on a tangent about roadside assistance. Now you need to have water in your vehicle, all right? It's a trip. I know that I tell you in your bug out vehicles that you want, you want 4 2-liter bottles per person or something like that. And I usually actually tell people 3 days worth of water and food. Okay, but go ahead and at least have 1 per person, 1 2-liter bottle of water per person. And I would also go ahead and put a little bit more water in the vehicle, because if you spring a leak, you need to use the water for that leak. Like, let's say your radiator springs a slow leak, and all you've got to do is add water in order to keep your engine cool. Because if you don't have water to make up your radiator, you're going to be sitting here, you're going to be sweating nails, and your knuckles are going to be white. You're going to be gripping your steering wheel so hard because you're afraid that your car might overheat while you get to the next gas station and get some coolant or something into your vehicle. If you have water on hand, that's not something that you have to worry about. And you don't even have to deal with roadside assistance. So have some water in your vehicles. Jumper cables are also a necessity. So throw some jumper cables in your vehicle. You can help other people if you've got jumper cables. Most people I know don't have jumper cables. Even people that you would think they have like the big truck or whatever, people that have like an off-road Jeep or something like that, and you would think that they would have jumper cables, because if you go off-roading, things happen to your vehicle all the time. So you would think they would have jumper cables, but these people don't, okay? They just spend all this money getting this vehicle ready to go off-road, and they don't have the basic essentials. It's ridiculous. So have yourself a jumper cable. You could help other people. All right, we've helped plenty of people at gas stations. We've helped people at Outback Steakhouse. We've had a lot of people that we've helped in the past, and there has been the occasion in which we've had to have other people help us. So I do recommend having jumper cables. That is the no-nonsense addition to your vehicle. Duct tape and electrical tape. I put on the show notes duct tape or electrical tape, but I recommend duct tape and electrical tape because each one is going to have a completely different use. If you have to choose one over the other, probably choose duct tape because it has a wider range of uses, but it is not electrical tape. All right, so the one thing that electrical tape does in your vehicle is it does electrical connections for your vehicle. Can you do that with duct tape? Yes. Is it nearly as good? No. I would just recommend having both, okay? Most vehicles come with a jack and a lug nut wrench. Make sure that your vehicle has it. Some of them nowadays are not coming up with those things because of the roadside assistance and all this, and I think it's just ridiculous. So have a jack and a lug nut wrench. All right, and I would also recommend having the 4-way lug nut wrench as well. Just looks like a big X with the sockets on all four arms on the X. Okay, I'd recommend having one of those. And if you can, I would prefer if you got something other than the basic little hydraulic jack or whatever that comes in your vehicle. If you can get a better jack, do it, because some of the jacks that come with those vehicles aren't that great. But you know what? First thing, instead of spending money, I want you to make sure that you have a jack that you can get to whenever you're on your trip. If you have one that's in your vehicle, just don't just go out and buy another one. It'll work fine. But for general preparedness, you should probably get a better jack and a better lug nut wrench. All right. Sand and kitty litter in the wintertime is a good thing to have. You can take the sand or the kitty litter, and it's going to provide you traction if you ever get stuck in the snow. So that's a good thing to have. Wood chips would also kind of work, but sand and kitty litter is a lot easier to carry in the back of your vehicle. So have that in the wintertime. Tow straps. You may need a tow. You may need to tow somebody else out. You may need to get somebody unstuck. talking about wintertime again. Have some tow straps, something that can handle a lot more than a small vehicle. You want to be able to, you want something that can handle the weight of a large truck if they were stuck in the ice or whatever. That way, you know it's not going to break on you and stuff like that, no matter what situation you get stuck in. Now, let's see, another thing that you're going to do before your trip, this isn't so much of a vehicle thing, but this is something that I think you should really do, is have maps of your trip. I will go on a trip and I will use my GPS. But the problem with using GPS is if it fails, you have no idea where to go. So you're going to need a map of the areas that you're in. You need a map that's going to be detailed enough to show the roads that the GPS is going to take you on. The low-tech option is generally the best option when it comes to backups, because the low-tech option fails less than high-tech. High-tech provides high value. High-tech provides high functionality. High-tech provides high convenience. But low-tech provides backup and resiliency. So make sure that you have maps and you have things drawn out and you have your fuel stops marked on these maps and things like that. You can use your GPS and make sure that your GPS route will match up with your map. And you also may want to look at the map ahead of time and look at workarounds in case you get into some issues on the road. So make sure that you have maps or a road atlas or something like that and know what pages you need to get to, stuff like that. So have your get home bag in your car. We're on to another little section of the show notes, but have your get home bag in your car. And I don't think that people need to just go out and do a get home bag. All right, I only say get home bag because that's the terminology used by all the survival nut jobs out there. And I think that you could just use an appropriately stocked bug out bag for your get home bag. What is your bug out bag meant to do? It's meant to get you from point A to point B in 72 hours on foot or whatever. So if you have a bug out bag, it's going to provide you a very good chance of getting home. It is a get home bag. I don't understand why people think that they have to have a separate bag for a get home bag when they have a perfectly stocked bug out bag. Just make sure it has all the appropriate equipment to get you home as well, and you're good. You're good to go. You know, each bug out bag is made for one person. So for every person on this trip, you need a separate bug out bag. I know it takes up real estate in your vehicle, but you need to have this stuff available. Now, what you can do for the real estate is you can go ahead and you can get one of those car top carriers. I would prefer you get a car top carrier or get a little trailer or something like that and have all the room that you need to have all your resiliency stuff in place. The stuff that's going to always be in your vehicle, those stay in your vehicle. The other packs, the other things that you pack up to go with you on your trip, those will be in the car top carrier or they will be in the trailer that you pull behind, because the resiliency stuff will always be in your vehicle. So you don't have to keep packing it and unpacking it. You just leave it in your vehicle, and then you get the carrier or the trailer for all your other stuff. Makes sense, right? So you're going to need a bug out bag for each person, and that's going to take up quite a bit of space. Now, the items that I think that you should have during your trip. This is even when you're not in a vehicle, okay? Even when you're not in a vehicle, you should have cash on hand, a gun and a knife, and situational awareness. All right, so cash on hand. You're going to be a big thing for cash on hand. I know I fumbled a little bit there. A big thing for cash on hand is your card stops working, electronic devices stop working or something like that, but you need to eat. So you need to be able to pay for your dinner. So cash on hand. If you have cash on hand, you have a backup for when your card or something like that doesn't work. Don't keep all your cash on hand, because what if you get mugged, right? And they take all your cash, and now you have nothing in your bank account because you pulled everything in cash. So cash on hand as a backup for paying for meals in a hotel room or something. If you get caught in a bad situation, have some cash. A gun and a knife. All right, this one's a loaded one. I think that everybody should have a gun and a knife. All right, last podcast I did was talking about a lot of different fighting. It was martial arts and gunfights and things like that. And we know that there's an advantage to a gun over a knife, and sometimes to a knife over a gun in close combat. So you now will have tools to defend yourself with, if it comes to that, for different situations. With those tools comes responsibility. The responsibility to not use them unless absolutely needed. All right, you got to take responsibility for this stuff, because you could put yourself in a very bad situation, and you could put yourself right into jail as well. You don't want to take a life if you don't have to, and you definitely don't want to go to jail if you don't have to either. So with that responsibility, you need to know the laws. Every single state that you're going to be going through with that stuff, you need to know the laws of that state, and you need to be able to follow the laws of that state, because if you get pulled over and you are not following the laws of the state as you're traveling through that state, then you can get into some serious trouble for having like concealed weapons when you don't have a permit, or if you're in an idiotic state that doesn't do concealed weapon permits, and you know what states I'm talking about. If you're in one of those idiotic states that doesn't do a concealed weapons permit and you have a permit, well then you have to unconceal your weapon. You have to follow the rules of transporting a gun or something like that over the state lines and stuff. So knowing the laws is a big thing, and it will keep you out of trouble. All right, so situational awareness. Stay out of sketchy areas. All right, remember, I'm talking about stuff to have you on you during your trip when you're in or not in a vehicle. Situational awareness. Don't be dumb, okay? Don't go into those bad areas. All right, don't go to stupid places with stupid people and do stupid stuff. I'm going to repeat that again because it's very important. Don't go to stupid places with stupid people and do stupid stuff. You know what? That right there, that should be on Facebook. I'm going to post that on Facebook next time I get a chance. I really like saying that. Don't go to stupid places with stupid people and do stupid stuff. Because if you go to stupid places with stupid people and do stupid stuff, you're going to put yourself in a stupid situation, and that stupid situation is going to take your life more than likely. So don't do it. Don't go to sketchy areas. Know of the sketchy areas before you get to that city. Know where to go and where not to go. Do some research. Everybody wants to research the hotel that they're staying at, and they're going to research the lake that they're going to, or they're going to research the ocean, or they're going to research the mountains that they want to visit, or they're going to research the hiking that they want to do, but they don't research the parts of town that are going to get them shot or stabbed. So take some time and research the bad areas so that you know not to go into those areas. Do not be dumb when traveling. Okay, I already talked about situational awareness, and that's part of being dumb, not having situational awareness. Understanding that people are coming out of the shadows and not being in that situation. And when you are in that situation, know when you are in that situation and that you have to get out immediately. If you're walking down the road, downtown Compton, and you're in a rundown area and you're dressed up in a nice watch and nice rings, and you're walking down by the corner and you see a group of thugs over on the corner, you think they're thugs, and they look at you and they just shake their head. They just shake their head no at you and look at you like you're an idiot. Those people are not your threat. What they are doing is they're giving you the look and says, bud, you don't want to be here. You need to turn around and go back. That's very important for you to understand. You don't want to be there. And that nice guy just told you that you don't want to be there, even though you thought that he was a thug, because you don't understand that you can't just judge things by the way they appear. Because most of your bad situations are going to come from things that you don't recognize because you think everything appears fine. So stay out of those areas. Don't make any social media announcements about your trip. You can say things about, about you want to learn about this place for your trip and stuff like that. But I would stay away from dates, and I would stay away from stuff like that. If anybody can comment on Facebook and tell you, I know that you're going to Orlando. I know that you're going there May the 15th. Or I know that you're going there May the 20th to Orlando, Florida. I know that your whole family's going there. I know that nobody's going to be at home except maybe your dogs. If they can tell you that, and then they can say, and I know you're going to be gone for a week. I know what you're going to be doing while you're there. I know where you're staying while you're there. And it's just, don't do that. Don't make these announcements. Don't put yourself in a position in which these people know where you are, what you're doing, and where you're not at, like at home. And that goes for while you're on trips too. Don't take a picture while you're on the beach with you and your family and post it to Facebook while you're on the beach. Wait until you get home, and after the fact, you can promote the fact that you were at the beach. Because I promise you, it can wait a week for you to update all your friends on how much fun you had at the beach. You can take these pictures because you want the memories. You can take these pictures just like you would if you were going to upload them to Facebook, but you can wait until you get home before you upload them to Facebook, okay? All right. So don't make social media announcements. These are a big violation of operational security. Talking to strangers. We teach our children, do not talk to strangers. In certain settings, you also should not be talking to strangers. All right? It's important that you understand this. And when you are talking to strangers in a good situation, and I'm just saying, like, in certain areas, you don't want to talk to other people. But, a lot of the time, you're going to be in a public space and you're going to try to socialize because you're not a hermit and you want to socialize with people, and that's fine. And I recommend doing that, because how are you going to meet people? How are you going to teach people? How are you going to learn from people? How are you going to socialize if you don't talk to people that you don't know, especially if you're in a town that you don't know? So, yes, talking to people is a great thing, but you need to do it with some operational security. Don't tell them, that you come from this town and that you're doing this and where you're staying and all this. You don't want to give them information that can lead to a security problem for you. So pay attention to what you say to strange people, because you don't know what those people's intentions are, right? I already covered that. Not only when you are traveling, But while you are in that city, when you are at your destination, do not let your tank go past half full. You don't know where everything is. You don't know what might happen, where you might have to take a quick trip. You don't know where the next gas station is. And even if you do, you don't know that they're going to have gas. Okay? So these are unknowns. One way to get rid of any unknowns, or at least get rid of the problems that those unknowns may cause you, is to have your tank half full at all times. This is an issue of mine. I keep my tank half full when I'm traveling to and from work in normal times, but when I go on long trips, I'm that guy that wants to let it get down past a quarter. I'm the guy that says, all right, as soon as it hits a quarter, I'm going to start looking for a gas station. When I should say, as soon as it hits half, I'm going to look for a gas station. So if you already have your gas stations mapped out on your different routes, that will be helpful so that you know that you can get the best prices and stuff like that. I think there's a thing called, I think it's called Gas Buddy. Gas Buddy is a Android app, and it may be an iPhone app as well. And it's a really good one. It has user updates on gas prices, so it's usually pretty accurate, and it tells you the last time it was updated. So by using Gas Buddy, you can actually plan out which gas stations are usually the cheapest. All right, but plan it before you leave. And also you can use Gas Buddy to find the cheapest gas while you're in that city. Just remember, it's worth an extra few cents to stay out of a bad area just to get gas that's cheaper. All right? I mean, how much is your life worth? Go to a nice lit up gas station, and I mean, this wasn't in the show notes either, but go to a nice lit up gas station in a good area and pay an extra few cents, because it's really not going to save you that much. I mean, come on. Let's say you got a 15-gallon tank, and you're going to save 10 cents a gallon. That's a big savings between one gas station and the other. You're going to save 10 cents a gallon. But then you think about that, you're only saving $1.50. And because you're in a bad area, number one, you had people that begged for money, so you had to give them a couple dollars, or they weren't going to leave you alone. And number two, you just put yourself in a situation where you could be shot at. So don't do that. Pay the extra money. Also have an exit strategy. If something happens on the main roads and they're blocked, you need to have alternate routes. Have an exit strategy from your town. Know the best way to get out of there. High traffic places, high traffic roads, probably not the ones that you're going to want to take. You're probably going to want to take back roads to get out of there. If something happens in that area, you want to have an exit strategy. All right, so that's a wrap. That's pretty much the end of my podcast. It actually ran a little bit longer today, but I thought it actually turned out to be a pretty good podcast, even though I've had something in my throat this entire time and I've had to keep pausing it and getting a drink of water. I think that the podcast turned out to be pretty decent. Just remember that whenever you're traveling, you want to be safe, you want to be secure, you don't want to be dumb when you're traveling, you want to have things on you while you're in your location. You also want to do good auto maintenance and tune up your vehicle before your trip. You don't want to be as vulnerable as most people are. You don't want to be too vulnerable when you're traveling. And with that, this is Ken Jensen of theprepperpodcast.com, wishing you a good week, wishing you good summer travels, wishing you a great time. And I hope you guys will come back next week and listen to me again. This is Ken, signing out.